Hey. Okay, what's going on? Woo. Okay, got a dog inside here too. Whoa, whoa! Whoa! Get out! Get back! Get out! Get out! Get out! Get out! That's right. That dog came and attacked me.
I can't hear you guys. What just happened?
Dog inside. Attacked it. Yeah, I'm good.
Okay. Step out of the house and clear the dogs in this back window. Step on out. Clear the house.
Alright, we're coming out. Coming out.
You guys copy? Step out of the house. The dogs in the bedroom. Dispatch. And you can start me 1, 2 more.
Come on. What were you doing here?
We're fine. This discharge on an animal attack the dog.
Oh my God. You got EMS around? Get off the air. I'm not on the air. Okay. You're right.
So it's talking to EMS when the kids are hit. I'm 39. Notification form is here.
Yeah.
Stay put, relax right here for me.
Okay.
140.
Start recording.
Oh my God, it's starting crazy right now. My daughter! They shot Please hurry up and let me go, my daughter. Let me take my daughter to the hospital. Please let my daughter go to the hospital.
All other kids okay?
Yeah, they're okay.
Okay. You see that big dog come on?
I didn't see it, man.
Holy
The shots, the officer that was with me, I mean, I started screaming, you know, what's happened. I hear someone say, they've shot your dog. And instantly I asked him, why were you in my house? And then, of course, at that time, he was trying to console me, and I think he looked shocked of, you know, what had just happened, because, of course, he was on the side of the house with me. Right after that, I hear, it's dark out, so really, you know, it was hard to see. But I hear my husband say they've hit my daughter. And I remember asking, I just remember screaming and saying, what have you done? Because I couldn't even imagine what was going on, why he would have shot. You know, there were so many questions I had, and of course he couldn't answer them for me because he was standing there with me. He didn't know what was going on either. So at that time, he actually, as soon as he heard that my daughter had been hit, he said, let me take you to my car. And I think I told him why. I want to go in my house. I want to see what happened. I need to know. And you know, I was like freaking out. I just couldn't even gather my thoughts. I wanted to physically see what was going on, and they weren't going to allow me to. So I was taken to the car, and I sat for probably a good 5 to 10 minutes. I think a sergeant actually came to the car because I was yelling at that point, you know, what has happened? Where's my daughter? Why did you shoot my dog? What, you know, I just had so many questions and nobody could answer them for me.
story tonight, the Department of Public Safety is investigating after a 3-year-old was shot in an officer-involved shooting in Northeast Midland. Tonight, that 3-year-old's brother is in juvenile custody. CBS 7 Shane Battis reports.
Texas Rangers say they're not releasing any details for now on how this 3-year-old ended up in a Lubbock hospital with a bullet wound in her back. But the child's father, Luis Gomez, says his 16-year-old son was home alone with the girl when something crashed into their window.
And he heard the front door kicked in, so he thought somebody was robbing us or something. So he runs over there, and I guess he had an object in his hand. I don't know what he had or what. And when he ran that way, he says they just opened fire on him.
Gomez says his son was struck in the arm when he took cover. He says the teenager kept yelling that his sister was in the other room, and when the gunfire finally stopped, she walked out with blood on her. Gomez says police have raided this house before and found drugs. However, he says while the officers had a search warrant, they didn't announce themselves when they came in. According to Gomez, his son is now in a juvenile detention facility.
Gomez says his daughter's been resting all day since surgery and is expected to make a full recovery.
A former Georgia deputy has been acquitted in federal court of lying to a judge in connection with a drug raid last year. The raid left a toddler critically injured. The case of then 19-month-old Buncam Pansavan, known as Baby Boo Boo, drew intense criticism from the American Civil Liberties Union. They described the raid as a stark example of systemic police militarization. Authorities were serving a late-night no-knock warrant on May 28, 2014, at a home where they believed Boo Boo's father's nephew was staying when they lobbed a flashbang grenade inside. The baby's cousin was a suspected meth dealer. The nephew wasn't home, and the grenade, designed to disorient its target, landed in Boo Boo's crib.
How they conduct search warrants after an 18-month CBS 2 investigation exposed officers repeatedly raiding innocent families' homes. But one mom says it's not nearly enough after seeing what officers did to her own kids. CBS 2 investigator Dave Savini uncovered the body camera video.
You're watching heavily armed police officers breaking into the wrong home.
Doors open, go, go, go!
Pointing guns at the innocent kids inside. That's the back end of a high-powered rifle.
No, no.
7-year-old JJ is the youngest.
And they had their finger on a trigger.
His sisters, 11-year-old Talia and 14-year-old Savannah, on the ground at gunpoint.
Please do not shoot me.
You're fine, you're
I can hear her. I can hear her yell.
Their mother, Crystal Archie, is seeing what happened to her children last April for the first time. She was on her way home from work when the raid happened.
You just see the guns at the back of her head.
Come on, get up. Get up. Get up.
They're handling heavy artillery. It would have taken one slip of your finger, and my children would not be here.
Now, after the CBS 2 investigators exposed more than a dozen similar bad raids, CPD has finally changed its search warrant policy. CPD's risk manager, Michelle Morris.
Let's be clear, no child should have a gun pointed in his face.
Lieutenant Matthew Klein says the new policy aims to prevent trauma to children.
How are you going to deal with children?
We're making sure that if we know children to be present, that in our operational planning, that it's discussed that there's going to be children in here.
Another change, officers will be required to activate body cameras for the duration of every single raid.
At what point in the raid are they supposed to turn them off?
When they leave.
During the Archie raid, body cameras caught officers interrogating the children.
Hey, just tell us, do you know where the stuff's at?
Trying to get them to confess to having drugs in the home.
Because if you can tell us that, then we're out of here.
The kids say the questioning continued, but the cameras were shut off.
We can kill cameras.
I just cry. And there's no way to feel about going home. And that's my life now.
Police actually came back and raided their home again. We can't show you what happened that time because officers didn't even use body cameras. The Archies filed a federal lawsuit against CPD. We are continuing to investigate. Dave Savini, CBS 2 Investigators.
And you can see every investigation Dave Savini filed over that 18-month period. Search Unwarranted, CBS Chicago.
Cop and state attorney jailed after fellow cops caught them raping a baby and filming it. A Vile police officer and state attorney were sentenced to prison this month for horrifying sexual abuse of a baby and several children. By Matt Agarist, August 8, 2018. In one of the most disgusting cases ever to come across the radar of the Free Thought Project, a police officer has been sentenced to 16 years in prison after he was caught by his fellow officers raping a baby. The now former cop, 48-year-old Dean Roberts, filmed himself abusing a helpless infant while on duty. He then distributed the footage to other pedophiles in a messaging app. His fellow officers caught a different pedophile, also a government employee, who had received the horrifying footage and then traced it back to one of their own. The former officer from the South Wales Police Department was then arrested, and it was discovered that he had been plotting with other pedophiles to jointly abuse other children to make and distribute more footage. After his arrest, this vile police officer admitted to rape, sexual assault of a child, possessing and distributing indecent images of children. "I can never forget the knock on my door and my whole world just falling apart," the mother of the victim said in court. "It was just like being hit by a bus. We will always have to live with the consequences." What's more, Robert's partner in crime was John Guess, who happened to also be a state employee. According to reports, Guess was a state attorney who worked for the Welsh government as a legal advisor. Guess was sentenced to 26 years in prison earlier this month after he was caught abusing 2 other young girls. According to the court, Guess was also caught taking photos of children as they got changed at swimming pools. Following the sentencing of Roberts and Guess, Detective Superintendent Wendy Gunney said, "Today's sentences reflect the gravity of the crimes that have been committed. The 2 people responsible for the appalling abuse of a number of very young children have now been brought to justice." The investigation uncovered extremely disturbing child abuse evidence, and the guilty pleas have ensured that the jury were spared from viewing evidence that would have been extremely traumatic. Today's sentence does not mark the end of our investigations, and we will work tirelessly to identify any other victims or witnesses and seek the justice they deserve. Not 1 but 2 state actors have been sentenced to prison for horrifying and unspeakable acts against children, including a baby. What's more, one of these monsters' jobs was to protect the community from people like himself. Instead of protecting them, however, he betrayed them and preyed upon them. Disgusting indeed. Sadly, as tragic as this case is, it is not an isolated incident. As TFTP has reported, in 2016, a study exposed the startling fact that police officers are arrested about 1,100 times a year, or roughly 3 officers charged every day. Many of these arrests are over unspeakable sex crimes. Police crimes are not uncommon, the study's lead researcher Philip M. Stinson concluded. Our data directly contradicts some of the prevailing assumptions and the proposition that only a small group of rotten apples perpetrate the vast majority of police crime. Although nearly 60% of the crimes occurred when the officer was technically off-duty, Stinson wrote, a significant portion of these so-called off-duty crimes also lies within the context of police work and the perpetrator's role as a police officer, including instances where off-duty officers flash a badge, an official weapon, or otherwise use their power, authority, and the respect afforded to them as a means to commit crime. According to a report from WAPO, in cases involving allegations of sexual abuse, 72% of the officers were fired, and more than 80% resulted in convictions, the study found. There were 422 reported cases of forcible and statutory rape, 352 cases of forcible fondling, and 94 sodomy cases over the 7 years of the study, which Stinson called larger than expected based on the existing research. The data search turned up 174 examples of male officers arrested in cases of driving while female, in which women drivers were harassed or assaulted. About 82% of those cases ended in convictions. A separate study as reported by the AP in 2015 found similarly shocking numbers. The probe revealed that 550 officers were decertified for various sexual assaults, including rape. Some were dismissed for sodomy or sexual shakedowns, where victims were forced to perform sexual acts to avoid arrest. A further 440 officers lost their jobs for other sex-related offenses, such as possessing child pornography, being a peeping Tom, sending sexually charged messages to underage teens or having sex while on duty. About 1/3 of the officers lost their jobs for committing sexual offenses with juveniles. Another independent study found that sexual misconduct is the second highest of all complaints nationwide against police officers, representing 9.3% in 2010, according to a study by the Cato Institute's National Police Misconduct Reporting Project. In 2010, 354 of the 618 complaints involved non-consensual sexual acts, and over half of those involved were minors. Perhaps the most chilling aspect of police sexual misconduct is the likelihood of underreporting. As the case of the NYPD cops intimidating the rape victim shows, police officers stand up for their own even if it means protecting a rapist. When a person becomes a victim of police sex crimes, how can they be expected to go to the very people who employ their abuser and report it, especially given the fact that it is well known police will go to great lengths to protect their own? It's happening probably in every law enforcement agency across the country, said Chief Bernadette DiPino of the Sarasota Police Department in Florida, who helped study the problem for the International Association of Chiefs of Police. It's so underreported and people are scared that if they call and complain about a police officer, they think every other police officer is going to be then out to get them.
Certainly very tense moments. That little girl was missing for about 2 hours, and in that period of time, she managed to cover about 2 miles. Tonight, she's home, safe and sound. In Stowe.
From where her house is to where she was located was almost 2 miles.
The ordeal started around 10:15 this morning.
Mom was putting her 2 infants into her SUV.
Oh, that's him right there. Hey, how you doing, man? Got a couple questions. Who you here to meet, bro?
Huh?
Who you here to meet?
Where'd I hear you?
Your name's Mark, right?
I'm putting you on the news.
I ain't got nobody on my mind sometimes. I wish I had you, but I don't. That's fine, so I guess it's okay. Yeah, I guess it's okay. I ain't got nobody on my mind sometimes. I wish I had you, but I don't. That's fine, so I guess it's okay. Yeah, I guess it's okay. Yeah, I woke up this morning super happy. Gotta get my caffeine and catch up with my homies, cause we are growing up so fast. Don't waste time doing things that never will last. I've been running faster than ever towards all of my dreams. Leaving work at 5 o'clock, then making these beats. I hope you notice, you just need to focus. Life gets wavy when you just own it. I ain't got nobody on my mind sometimes. I wish I had you, but I don't. That's fine, so I guess it's okay. Yeah, I guess it's okay. I ain't got nobody on my mind sometimes. I wish I had you, but I don't. That's fine, so I guess it's okay. Yeah, I guess it's okay. Yeah, I'm looking out the window, I see my reflection. I know I'm not perfect, but I have direction to follow. God's lead, I don't wanna borrow your keys to unlock my dreams. Consistency is all that you need. 10,000 hours, what Dad said to me. You never know what you're capable of doing till you try. So I ain't got nobody on my mind sometimes. I wish I had you, but I don't. That's fine, so I guess it's okay. Yeah, I guess it's okay. I ain't got nobody on my mind sometimes. I wish I had you, but I don't. That's fine, so I guess it's okay. Yeah, I guess it's okay.
Yeah, they don't got it. Oh, that's him right there. Hey, how you doing, man? Got a couple questions. Who you here to meet, bro?
Huh?
Who you here to meet?
Where did I hear you?
Your name's Mark, right?
Might be, I don't know.
Yeah, I think your name's Mark. Who you here to meet, Mark?
I'm talking to a guy by,
You talking to who?
Bill.
Bill? Do you want to be honest with me? I'm for my safety and yours. I don't want you to say I harmed you, and vice versa. So do you want to just answer some questions and be truthful and honest? Who am I? I'm basically I'm an activist. What I do is I go online and I pretend to be a young, underage boy, and I catch people preying on young boys. You know who you were here to meet. You can delete it already. I screenshot everything. So I know who you were here to meet. But I ask you again, do you want to be honest and truthful? Oh, that's fine. I'll follow you. All right, guys, this is him from Gardner. This is Mark. You're gonna be plastered all over the internet. I'm sure it says you're married too. I'm sure you got kids. Hey guys, he was online. He came on to meet a fucking 14-year-old off the internet for sex. Disgusting. The police know what I do already, so your shit's gonna get turned in. Yes, sir. Feels bad, brother. Feels bad. Yup. Shouldn't have did it, man. Why do you think it's okay to come meet an underage? You want to touch my phone, right? You want to touch my phone, right, buddy? Don't worry, the cops will come. It's all good. Once they come, they'll make sure we get you to your car safely. All right, guys. One time for the camera. 927 MYO. You're disgusting. You should be ashamed of yourself. You're disgusting. You're gross. Stop meeting kids off the internet. You're disgusting. You're 58 years old. Nasty. Guys, they all park in the same spot, guys. Literally.
I ain't got nobody on my mind sometimes. I wish I had you, but I don't. That's fine, so I guess it's okay. Yeah, I guess it's okay.
Hey, gun people. This is an older case, but it's coming up because I guess the woman, I still can't find out if she's still employed or if she's working or not. So a female officer goes to a front door with other cops to do a probation search on this 17-year-old's father who's on probation and shoots him in the chest, kills him dead. And one grand jury said she should be charged. The DA took it back to a second grand jury and they said let her go. And it turns out she was fired from her previous agency, and now she was hired by this agency and killed a 17-year-old. And I can't figure out, they've pretty much did a good job at hiding this woman. So again, this happened in Georgia. He was 17, single gunshot wound by unidentified officer. I've got her name here in a second. He was holding this in his hand. She said she thought it was a gun. He opened his door after they knocked, had this in his hand, and was shot in the chest and killed by a female officer who was fired from another agency. And now they're protecting her. They actually removed her picture from the website of the police department. And there's really not a whole lot of update. Like I said, one grand jury said charge her. Another one said don't charge her. These guys lived in a trailer park. White kid shot by white police officer. No racial hate angle. So most people didn't hear about it. This article goes over how her name is Corporal Beth. She's a corporal. She was promoted probably for killing the 17-year-old who was unarmed because she was in fear of her life. Because women are equal and we need to hire them, and you can't, if you don't hire them, you're sexist. Doesn't matter if they're qualified or not. She mistakenly shot the teen while serving a probation arrest warrant on his father. I thought it was a probation search. I didn't read arrest warrant. Evidence shows she failed to identify herself as the police. When she came to the door with her gun drawn, the teen opened the door. She shot him in the chest thinking he had a gun, and he didn't. Somewhere, one of the articles I read, she fell to her knees after she shot him and started crying because she knew she shouldn't have shot him. But Rick, if she cried, it was okay. The 17-year-old's dead, people. Tears don't bring people back. Grand jurors are not technicians, they're common people. She wasn't presented to the first grand jury, which voted to hold her responsible, but she was there on the second grand jury and probably cried, and she was cleared of all criminal charges. Perfect. Here's a picture of the kind officer. I think they got her picture here real quick on this case. Officer disciplined at last job. Here was a news report on the incident.
Police officer who shot and killed a 17-year-old boy when he answered the door. Channel 2's Craig Lucy is at the U-Harley Police Department, which is where the officer started working after being fired from another metro area police department.
Under Meet Our Officers on the U-Harley Police Department's website, Corporal Beth Gatney is the only one of 9 not shown. The department took her picture down while she remains on administrative leave. We went to Corporal Beth Gatney's home, and while there, she shut all the blinds and didn't answer the door. A few minutes later, a U-Harley police officer drove by to see what we were doing. We wanted to get Corporal Gatney's side of the story after she fatally shot aspiring Marine, 17-year-old Christopher Roop, February 14. U-Harley police say Roop was pointing a gun at their officer when they knocked on the door to serve a probation warrant for the teen's father. But the Roop's attorney says family members told him the teen was holding a Nintendo Wii controller. The GBI won't comment on the evidence recovered at the scene. We did spot Christopher Roop's father at the home Tuesday, but he pulled away as soon as we pulled up. Neighbors tell us Corporal Gatney patrolled the area at least twice a week.
She was a good person.
Well, she was a good person. I think, what do they say? She gave out cards or something.
Third talked to the kids and gave stickers out to the kids.
So today I'm going to give you a sticker. Tomorrow I'm going to kill you because I'm in fear of my life. And that makes her a good person. Are you freaking kidding me? If a grand jury said she should be charged on the first incident where they didn't see her, obviously there was no gun and they thought she was not good. The second grand jury, where she came and cried, they let her loose and exonerated her of all charges. This is why cops aren't trusted. You lower the standard. You hire people that shouldn't be cops. You make good cops tired of working with bad cops. You don't hold cops accountable. You got crooked DAs covering up for cops. You got crooked courts allowing cops to lie and do things when they see it. And there's nobody. I mean, just think if you had a prosecutor hired to do nothing but review police footage and charge cops. Just think of the attitude change in cops. Here's where they said she was terminated from the other agency after 10 years. Doesn't say what for, though. Was terminated due to exhausting her family and medical leave entitlement. That's why they terminated her? Really? You get terminated now because you use your medical leave? Give me a freaking break. Here's the article from, I think this is the Daily Mail out of UK. She came out of the house, put her hands, and put her head in her hands and was sobbing. Supposedly he opened the door with a BB gun. In my opinion, I think he was playing a Nintendo game. And I think they said And the fact that GBI won't release his finding, we call that a clue. See, cops covering for cops lead to more mistrust and more hate in the police. Nobody likes to be policed by a bunch of out-of-control, lawless, freaking maniacs. And that's what most people perceive cops now. Maybe not most. Maybe I'm the minority. I don't know. Well, again, I know this case is a few years old, but just another example of the hundreds of cases brushed under the rug that doesn't get media attention, is not plastered all over the media, so there's no outrage. See, we can't push a racist, it's only black people getting shot narrative if we actually give airtime when people are shot who aren't black. Lying left-wing media in cohorts with the lying government. It's going to come to a head, and I don't know how it's going to end. But anyway, we'll end that there.
Get the off of me! Get the off of me, bro!
Only on KOLD News 13 tonight, we are getting a look at explosive new video of a controversial arrest involving a Pima County Sheriff's deputy and a 15-year-old who has no legs or arms. Good evening and thanks for joining us. I'm Dan Maries.
And I'm Brooke Wagner. This video shows the deputy wrestling the teen to the floor. We do want to warn you the video you're about to see could be disturbing to watch.
KOLD News 13's Bud Foster joining us live at the Sheriff's Office along Benson Highway with more. Bud.
Well, Dan, I showed that video to the Pima County Sheriff's Department just a little while ago. They had not seen the video before, and once they watched it, they did begin an internal investigation. Now, this incident happened a couple of months ago, but that video is just now coming to light. We were able to get our hands on it today, and as you said, it's going to be rather explosive.
And then they have an exchange, and he gets in his face.
And he curses at him.
You consider that egregious?
Yes, absolutely. Imagine you're this boy with no limbs who just got tackled by this large man with a badge and gun, and this man is now screaming in your face, and he's now threatening your friend who has the temerity to record this whole incident. Absolutely, that's egregious.
The 8-minute video begins with a deputy on top of the 15-year-old boy, wrestling him to the floor with shouting and swearing. Later, it also shows that same deputy arrests the 16-year-old boy who shot most of the video.
He's eating the bowl of cereal. He puts the bowl of cereal down. He puts his hand behind his back, and now the deputy's going to slam his head into the wall.
And he's completely restrained at this point and is not trying to resist arrest.
It doesn't look like he's doing anything.
Just for good measure, let's slam his head into the wall.
We watched the video with the public defender, Joel Feynman, and with his chief assistant, Megan Page, in their office.
I would be horrified if an officer treated my children this way, and these kids are already in the traumatic situation of being in DCS custody, and they're not even in a stable home environment. So I think it's absolutely horrific.
We showed the video to the Pima County Sheriff's Department Internal Affairs late this afternoon, which would not allow us to tape that. It was the first time the department had seen the video. It was not aware that it even existed, and as would be expected, they were non-committal.
It's difficult to really predict, but obviously there are a number of outcomes that could occur following an internal affairs investigation.
Meantime, the public defender's office says it's rare that videos such as this make daylight. Usually they get buried, so when one does see sunshine, it's a rare teaching moment.
Men with badges and guns should not be acting this way, and that men and women who do act this way should not have badges and guns.
Now, those two teenagers were arrested. They were taken to juvenile jail and booked for disorderly conduct. That case right now is being prosecuted by the Pima County Attorney's Office. Now, I'm going to talk to one of those young boys tomorrow. They're in school, so we have to sort of work around that. And the Pima County Sheriff's Office told us late this afternoon that that internal investigation would probably take a couple of weeks. Dan, Brooke?
And Bud, you mentioned that you could not film us watching their reaction there with the Sheriff's Department as they watched that video for the first time, but you were in the room, correct?
Well, yes, and these men are professionals, and they're very stoic. They didn't show any emotion, but I tell you what, they watched every moment of that video. They watched it very intently, and then after it was over, they asked us for a copy for their internal investigation.
And also, Bud, who's advocating for this teen? He lives in a group home. Do you have any idea who's going to be helping him through this process as it just gets started?
Well, yeah, you're right. He is in a group home. I was told today that he has been abandoned by his family. He does have a lawyer. I talked to the lawyer this afternoon, and he said there's likely to be some civil action, some civil litigation somewhere down the road.
All right, thank you, Bud. And we will stay on top of the story and bring you any new details as soon as we get them.
The image is startling. A little barefoot girl, her hands raised as if she's surrendering to police.
Oh, she hold her hands my God.
She walks towards officers.
Oh, my God.
The woman recording the video seems to think one officer is pointing his gun at the toddler.
He is holding the gun at the baby.